is enormous.
It's not a financial crisis.
And your revenue at this time is challenged and is shrinking. But there are values that will be added today that will help accelerate your potential and ability to take the opportunities that will come after this storm is over.
So let's look at performance-driven initiatives now. A couple of organizations at this time will most likely be saying, okay, now we want to have performance-based pay, at this time. And we know that that's some form of inequality that you've thrown into the wheel. How do you, if you've thrown that kind of inequality, what it means, some people might be grieved. How do people manage it? How do organizations manage this?
When performance-driven pay theory is not properly deployed, it becomes counterproductive rather than being productive. And what do I mean by that? Okay, when it targets individual performance over and above team performance, you create team members that will work at cross purposes instead of working complementarily. So when you design performance reward structure or process, your target should be to emphasize the team performance first and then recognize individual performances as well. An example I can cite, which most people, I don't know if you like football, most people relate with, is in a football match, it doesn't matter if you win the golden boot as the highest goal scorer. If your team did not win the cup in the competition, you failed as well. You did not succeed. So what organizations that understand this well enough do now is they create or break your reward into elements. So in my organization, there are 3 elements. One element rewards group performance, which is the entire group. So we don't make it as a group. We tell people there's nothing to share if we did not make profit. So it's out of the profit we make that we share. So, and it's the profit of the group. It's like saying a football team, there's nothing to party about if you didn't win the cup. Then you have the business unit. We have many subsidiaries in our company, a couple of PLCs and some other limited liability companies. So your PLC, your limited liability company, or your corporate function will look at the performance of that unit. We then look at your own performance as an individual. The weighting that you allocate to each of these will drive the culture. So if you put 80% on individual performance, the guy will say, to hell with the remaining 20%. If you put only 10% on the group performance, the guy will say, okay, I don't need to care about the group performance. So in essence, what we do at the end of the day is, your individual performance is important, that's 40%. Your business unit performance is very important, that's another 40%. Group performance is important, that's 20%. When you put the weight in ways that sway the allegiance, you get the right result. And if you need to fine-tune, it's dynamic over time. You can keep fine-tuning it. If you see that people are paying too much attention now to the group and BU, then you fine-tune towards the individual again. So that's the way it works. Then the other concept about performance-driven reward structure, or performance-based reward structure is, I gave an example earlier of starting a team to say, you save the money, reduce the wastage. When you do, you will have saved the company $1 million or $1 billion. The company will give 10% of whatever you save to you as a team to share. How you now share it, all of you will rate one another. If you are 10 in the team, each of you will rate the other 9 people in respect of the contributions they have made. And it will be objective measures. that others can validate. So you can't say, oh, because ODMC is my friend, I will give her 100% on everything. It doesn't work that way. So when you give them that kind of power, you empower them. Say, look, rate the other 9 people, who will then aggregate and see what your relative ratings are. So all of you will get, out of the 10% allocated to you, all of you will get an amount. 50% of it will be shared equally among the 10 of you. 50% of that 10%, so 5%. The remaining 5%, however, will be shared, ranked or weighted by the ratings that you've all aggregated. What have you done? You've empowered them. You've driven teamwork. It's not going to be counterproductive. But if you say, oh, work as a team, reduce the wastage, save some money, and then at the end of the day, the line managers will come, the business unit heads will come and rate all of you. And based on the rating, your reward will be weighted. They will want to be impressing the person that will rate them. Whereas if they know it's the other 9 colleagues that will rate me, they will collaborate with them and impress them instead. That's the way
one person will not be feeling like your destiny is in
my hand. So
we're not placing all our destiny in one
meet at appraiser gate. That's what they say. Oh, see you at appraiser gate with this. Instead of that, you empower the team. And by the way, the reward of the team is dependent on the result that they get, and you can measure the result. You reduce the waste, you get the reward.
And also for leaders, it's time to walk the talk.
Absolutely.
So
let go of that power.
Because
they see it as power. I don't know why people think it's power, really. Because at the end of the day, what makes a leader successful is the results that they post. So if empowering my team will make me get great results, why then do I want to encourage eye service that will not deliver results?
So it's reorientating the leaders as well.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So for HR leaders at this time, what key areas would you say they should focus on?
Performance and culture. Performance and culture. And the culture drives performance. And like you've said now, reorientation. So the culture of an organization is driven by the deep set belief that people hold. That's deep belief. For some people, I've seen a quality assurance manager before in my career that said, I had the power to shut you down or to allow you to produce in a manufacturing business. So the person sees it as power to show that I can decide for you, rather than as responsibility to ensure that as a team, what we produce and send to the marketplace is of the right standard of quality. So it starts with the mindset, and it's the job of the HR leaders to ensure that the culture in the organization reflects the right mindset. Culture comes from deep-seated beliefs, and it is out of that belief that the thinking comes. And it's the thinking that you have that drives the action that you post, and it's the action that you post that gives you the result that you get, that gives you the visible result that people will see. So the job of the HR leader is to ensure that the right framework is in place to drive the right culture. The HR becomes the chief coach who coaches the leadership team and ensure that they have the capability to coach others in their own teams. And when everyone is coached to develop the right mindset, develop the right deep-seated belief about their role, about the business, about what the business wants to achieve, the right thinking will drive the right action, which will give the right result. So performance becomes the automatic result.
Yeah. Fantastic. This is deep. Fantastic. Now, we're talking about third-party vendors and things like that. managing them and ensuring that we won't get value at this time and save costs. What should we be? How should we? How do, as HR leaders, how do we address and engage these third-party service providers at this time, so that we are still in business and we're still getting value for money?
Third-party service providers are organizations as well with some vision, with some financial objectives that they want to achieve, and they believe that partnering with us by providing service to us will help them to achieve that. So the starting point is to recognize that the way we are facing challenges is the way they are facing. We're in the same environment. So our thinking, so those deep-seated beliefs should drive our thinking that we should work towards win-win situation. They can't win while we lose. And they can't lose while we win. And it shouldn't be zero-sum, lose-lose situation. So with that thinking in mind, the next thing therefore is to look at the actions that will drive a win-win situation. So they've been making good returns on their investment when the going was good. Now that the going is challenged, they need to understand that they have to be willing to partner with us in this rough phase and make sacrifices as well. Whatever we do that's working for us, we have to sell it to them. They have to do it as well. They too must remove the fat. They must cut some of the muscle. They must not touch the bones. We want them to exist. We need them to exist. So we have to partner with them to do whatever we are doing, they have to do as well. And mind you, most of the organization's expenses are incurred through these third parties. For businesses that provide cafeteria services for their employees, you don't have cafeteria staff, you outsource it to third-party service providers. Security services outsourced, janitorial services outsourced, and so on and so forth. If you are exploring creative ways to reduce waste, they have to as well. You need to collaborate with them to do that. You need to support them to do that. You don't want their businesses to die. You don't want the bones to be broken. But you want to take out the fat and you want to cut some of the nuts.
Fantastic. Now, let's look at the employees. Definitely, from the start of the conversations, we've said it, employees are greatly impacted by this as well. What should HR be? What kind of conversations should we be having with employees? And what initiatives can we also share with them at this time?
First thing is to recognize the fact that they are the weaker partner in this partnership. They are the lesser stakeholder, even though they are the most important assets to the bigger stakeholder, which is the employer. So they don't have the decision-making power beyond walking away. But for the employer, you have so many options. So it is first in recognizing that and taking it as a deep-seated belief that the right culture will emanate, and the culture starts from your thinking. So the first thinking is, what do I do to support this lesser stakeholder in this relationship through this rough patch where I know that these employees do not have the buffer like I do as a business, okay? And when you have that thinking, then some actions will evolve. What are the elements of cost of living that are putting enormous pressure on these employees at this time, depending on the phase of life they are in? Some it's school fees for the children, some it's rent for their accommodation, some it's transportation costs to the office, because you have some that work on the island but they live in Ogun State. Some it's food. So organizations can explore the various creative ways to ameliorate the pains in those areas. For food, for instance, make sure every day the guy comes to the office, he has one good meal, decent meal a day. Okay? Even if he's not going to have anything when he goes home. I've seen employees that will pack their meals, take home for their family members. Well, usually those that are at the bottom of the ladder. Then to pay rent, what kind of you're not a loan advancing entity,
Yes.
you are not a financing house, but you can pay some advance on rent for the employee to pay their rent, pay some advance on housing allowance. You can look at advancing fund for those kind of seasonal needs like school fees for the children and so on and so forth. So that it's paid back over time in an easier way. Because the real challenge is in saving. That's where the challenge is. If what is left is not enough beyond 110, the employee will go. But if the employee has the means to do 111, it will be difficult for the employee to save. Then you encourage a lot of cooperative activities, okay? Employee cooperative savings, employee pooling resources together to help one another. I was chatting with some of my colleagues recently, and I said, look, for those of you that are not at the bottom of the pyramid, you are somewhere in the middle, and you've had some savings that you kept in your Naira account. Naira is losing value fast. Why don't you put it into real estate? And they said, no. The problem is, what we have is not even enough to buy a studio apartment. And I said, okay, fine. Why don't you combine? Instead of one person looking for a studio apartment that you can't afford, 20 of you can combine your funds, get a studio apartment. One, you preserve the value of your Naira saving. So, two, you get some rent income every year that you can share, like shareholder in a venture. And they were like, oh, okay. So financial literacy for our employees at this time is critical, helping them to think through this confusion. It's critical. Empathy, for me, is the biggest. So if you've been riding on your high horse, it's the time to step down and check in on them and show genuine empathy. Then people will pass through this rough patch. It's not going to last, by the way. There is hope in the air. I strongly believe.
So let's, pitching on that empathy bit, definitely a lot of people are at the point where they're emotionally worn out, mental health is challenged. HR professionals, what can we do?
We need to ensure that we put framework in place to address some of those issues you've mentioned. And I can tell you most organizations have that arrangement now where they prioritize mental wellness and they provide emotional support to employees. For me, we're not even talking of the advanced employee assistance program that people go into investing so much money in employing experts and the rest of them. Something as basic as just checking in on people makes a whole lot of difference. I've worked in an organization where I had a colleague that was challenged mentally, and when he or she is in good state, fantastic contributor in the team. But when those moments come, if you're not familiar with this person, you will be looking for change all over the place. And it's because maybe the medication is skipped or something. So, and by the way, it's not their fault. Some face some turning point in life that just break them down. So, we need to check in on people. They are humans. They are human beings. We need to understand what they are going through. We need to provide that support. And where we need expert support, we pass it on to the EAP experts.
Fantastic. In closing, quick advice to HR professionals. I mean, you're a leader. What will you say to us?
HR professionals, well, I always say this, that this is not a profession, this is a calling. There's a big difference between the two. It's a calling because you are taking decisions that will either make or break lives, homes, and you want to, when people say, I love people, I care about people, that's why I'm in HR, I tell them it will be tested. You must have tough skin, because the people you're trying to support to be successful in their jobs and in their lives, sometimes you have to take tough decisions to support them. I tell people, when a boat takes a hole and is taking water, those who are experts in rowing boats, they know what you do is you offload some materials so that you don't sink. Everything, otherwise everyone will sink. It's like Jonah saying, throw me, and because of your trouble, throw me into the water. So sometimes when you offload some portions of your workforce, it's so that everybody will not sink together. But oftentimes you have to swallow those painful decisions alone. People will give you labels. It's a calling. Just like Jesus took all the beatings, just like Prophet Muhammad was attacked and chased from town to town in Saudi. You are a prophet, and you have to do what you have to do because you're on a mission, and your mission is to do the best for the good of the majority. But the minority that may go through pains will go for your reputation, they will go for your head. You must have that tough skin to absorb it and keep your focus on doing what is right, and understand their pains, that they are reacting because of the pain they are going through. I think it's like Christ on the cross saying, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they are doing. He knows he has a mission. So that's like a HR person. Your mission is clear, is to make the business and the people who are the greatest asset of the business win and successful. And it will be tough to do that if you don't have tough skin. Your integrity is your most important qualification, because the organization is entrusting you with enormous authority, especially as you rise higher in the business. Look, I make decisions daily about, should the organization pay these millions of naira to this person or not. And if I say no, it will be no. If I say yes, it will be yes. And either way will be right. It's a thin line. But when you are principled, when your commitment is to the business and to the people, and your role is to balance things based on the authorized policies that you have already gotten signed off by the board, then you will, under a great weight of responsibility, take decisions that you know is in the best interest of the parties involved. So your integrity, you can't make that decision because it will favor you, or it will favor your friends. Or your family members. And that is what we need to get some HR leaders to understand. So I've had the experience in my career when my own younger brother applied for a job in a multinational business that I was HR manager in, and he came short of the required pass mark by 2 points or so. And even my own manager, who was the plant manager there, said, why not? We can still take him. And I said, no, you can't. The mere fact that the person is related to me, and the company does not say don't employ people related to you, but the fact that the person is related to me means the person has to even be far above the pass mark. But what do you have today? Like parents buying results for their children. That's what some do, and you can't afford to do that in HR. So, as an HR practitioner, your integrity is really important. You are in a mission, not a profession, and you must ensure that at all times your priority, your allegiance, your commitment is to do what is right by the business and right by the employees, the balance of the two. The other point is, before you grow tall, it's like a tree. It's always good for you to first of all grow deep. The Chinese bamboo, when the seed is planted, it doesn't sprout for 8 good years. It does not sprout, not a single blade of leaf. It's as if it's dead there in the ground. But what happens is you can't see that it is growing because it's growing beneath the surface of the earth, beneath the soil. It's growing deep root and branching out under the soil. On the 8th year or thereabouts, it begins to sprout, and it is said that it grows several feet every minute. So overnight, it's like you leave it there. On the 8th year, you just leave it there in the morning, and you come back the next morning and you see a tall tree standing. That is what HR practitioners should be. Most HR practitioners, love to have the big titles. When people ask me, what do you do? I'm an HR practitioner. Okay, where do you work? What's your title is the next question they ask. It's not necessary. You can be HR manager and have responsibility at exec level. It doesn't really matter. So my first 14 years in HR, I wasn't having any big title. I was just learning. And
soaking it up.
By the time I make my first move, it was explosive. But what do you have these days? Someone is practicing HR for 5 years and all of a sudden it's group HR, this and that. Well, some people are faster than others. But I always prefer those ones that spend time to grow themselves, really develop themselves, develop their roots before you start carrying the load.
Fantastic. Career advice for young professionals.
It's exactly what I have said. Take time to develop first before you look for the titles.
Anyone just coming up, not HR professional now, anyone at all?
Anyone at all? I think the same thing is applicable. The cars are nice. The titles are good. The pays, fat pays, with all the perks and beautiful. If you jump from place to place, because that phenomenon was in the Nigerian labor market some years back. And people will say, just resign from here, go to the next place, keep negotiating, 40% more, 50% more. They eventually jump
catch up.
like the proverbial monkey that jumps beyond the leaves. Because after a while, the organization will ask the question, am I getting the value for the money that I'm paying? So it's better to grow your roots. Learn first, soak it first. Money should not be the first priority. I know money is important, don't get me wrong. But there's that pleasure that comes from knowing that you know your stuff. That's what I always look for. Knowing that you know I tell my children, I don't influence them on what career choice they should make. One is a medical doctor, two are engineers, one studied teacher education, one is rounding up with sociology. But the interesting thing, only the medical doctor is actually practicing what she went to school to learn. I don't bother them. What I insist on is whatever you want to do in life, know your stuff. So there is one that is into digital marketing, and they talk about the guy that he knows his stuff, and that's what I'm proud of. Not the title, engineer, doctor,
digital
professor,
marketer.
well, nonsense, Savio. We like titles in Nigeria. Even last man people now will say I'm last man. What do we do with those things? What's important is the value that you create. And you can't create value unless you know your stuff. So when my current employer, spoke to me about the background check they did, and they said they asked one of my former employers, an organization I enjoyed so much, that what should we watch out for about this gentleman? And that the global CEO of that business said, Wale knows his stuff, but he will only do what he will do. I said, that's not bad. Know your stuff. That's
Beautiful.
my message.
Beautiful. Quickly, 2 lessons that you've learned on your own career journey.
Never to be in a hurry. My first, my career started with Procter & Gamble. P&G those days, because we were recruited from school. And everybody was jumping. This one, promoted. That one, he found job outside, they are paying him double. Oh, this one had gone to Guinness, and they will come back, show us the nice cars, tell us, look, what are you guys still doing here? At a point, they gave me a name, Mr. Proctoid. I didn't leave. It's not that I didn't have offers, but I told myself I must exhaust the opportunities I have here. So first lesson I learned is never to be in a hurry. Never to track my progress in life by the progress of people around me. It doesn't
Comparison.
really matter. I don't do comparison. When some of my colleagues then were chasing Lekki Peninsula, because Lekki Peninsula just came, Governor Tinubu then just opened up this access, and people were buying, and they were buying with huge mortgages. The kind of money I knew I won't be able to pay back in 15, 20 years. And people were squeezing themselves to do it. And I said, no, me, I'm okay. In my Gidimbi, 2-bedroom flat that I was living in. But today, I can afford it. Never drive yourself out of people's calendar. Never be in a hurry. The second lesson, which I have shared earlier on, is know your stuff. Knowing your stuff makes the difference.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome time with you. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. So I believe this has been an insightful session with Mr. Wale Adediran. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that you are notified every time we upload new videos. Also, don't forget to share, like, and invite your friends to watch it. I'd love to hear from you. Please put your comments in the comment section. Let's keep the engagement going. Bye-bye.